As a Washington Commanders football team, Redskin fan, we've been wondering, have we finally figured out the position of franchise quarterback, centerpiece, face of the franchise guy since the day that I came onto this earth? I was born October 14th, 1991. And in my lifespan as a Washington fan, I'm not even really going to count my days as a kid, but you know what? Let's go to it. I was born in 91. Mark Rippon wins the Super Bowl. Since 91, our starting quarterback room has consisted of Mark Rippon, Rich Gannon, Kerry Conklin, Heath Shuler, John Freese, Gus Farrat, Jeff Hostetler, Trent Green, Brad Johnson, Jeff George, Tony Banks, Shane Matthews, Patrick Ramsey, Danny Werfel, Tim Hasselbeck, Mark Brunell, Jason Campbell, Todd Collins, Donovan McNabb, Rex Grossman, John Beck, RG3. We finally got our guy in 2012, baby. We traded 1,000 draft picks to get him. And then that didn't work out. And the guy we drafted in the fourth round of that same draft ended up being the guy, Kirk Cousins. We finally got a guy. He tore the fan base in half because half of the fan base could not deal with the fact that Kirk was a better quarterback than RG3. But we finally got our guy, right? Nope. Bruce Allen said, nope, we don't like nice things, and we're going to let him out the door. Longer Kirk Cousins conversation awaits. Colt McCoy, Alex Smith, Josh Johnson, Mark Sanchez. Yes, Mark fucking butt fumble Sanchez ended up on this list. Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, rest in paradise, brother. Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, the franchise's savior to a lot of delusional fans. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Garrett Gilbert, Carson Wentz, and now the Airwolf, Sam Howell out of North Carolina. Now, did you hear all those names, bro? That is over 30 quarterbacks in my lifespan. I have more quarterbacks starting for my franchise than I have years on this earth. That has been the life of a Washington fan. But is it finally going to be over? Did we finally get blessed with some goodwill and end up with a quarterback who had no business being a fifth-round draft pick, number 144 in 2022? Is the karma dissipation from removing Dan Snyder as the owner of the franchise, is it going to give us the goodwill of the football gods finally letting us have a franchise quarterback of our own? Let's talk about it. Sam Howell, the latest of the revolving purgatory of Washington Commander Redskin football team quarterbacks. The Airwolf out of North Carolina. I just feel inspired to talk about the quarterback position today because Netflix this morning dropped their first collaboration with the NFL, and they dropped a series called Quarterback. No bells and whistles, no fancy titles, just quarterback. You know, like Ron said, quarterback. And it featured Marcus Mariota, our former quarterback, who a lot of y'all hate, Kirk Cousins, and Patrick Mahomes. And it is absolute brilliant, phenomenal coverage and content and context of the position of quarterback, a position I've obsessed about since the day I was born. I started playing football when I was 7 years old. I was a quarterback the first 5 years of my young football career. And while I didn't do everything that a high school, college, and professional quarterback did, I became obsessed with the position. It got me more into football to watch the nuances and all the responsibility that goes into being a quarterback. And as a Washington fan, I have a PhD in what shit quarterbacking looks like because I've seen a whole lot of it during my tenure of fandom as a Washington fan. So what sets Sam Howell apart and what gives him the chance to be the guy here? Before we can even talk about Sam Howell, we got to retrospect it a little bit. We got to talk about my experience watching quarterbacks as a fan of this team. I would say I started to have a full grasp and understanding on the game, the position around 8 or 9 years old. So the first quarterback I came in contact with watching this team was Brad Johnson. Our offense was booming in 1999 and 2000. Booming. And when things work here in Washington, we decide to fix them because, you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We like to fix things that aren't broken. And when our new owner came in, he wanted shiny new toys. He wanted Jeff George in the building. We immediately got Brad Johnson out. Brad Johnson went to go win a Super Bowl for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in true Washington fashion. But it's been mediocre, jag, misevaluation, character evaluation. We've fumbled a quarterback in every way possible to fumble a quarterback in this league. We either go get a washed quarterback, we either draft someone who should not be drafted at the spot that we get him in, or we go on Easter Sunday and trade for a guy that a divisional rival's giving to you. That's the biggest swindle in the league. An NFL team, especially run by Andy Reid, is not going to give you a gift of a franchise quarterback. We went and got washed Donovan McNabb on Easter Sunday and expected him to be the franchise savior. 11 weeks into his tenure here, the guy's getting benched for his cardiovascular endurance. Only in Washington. 2012, we finally make the aggressive move to go get our quarterback. We finally have a head coach that is trustworthy in Mike Shanahan, and we went and got RG3, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out of Baylor. 2012 was magical, but 2012 was a flash in the pan, and we did not correctly evaluate the mental, the ego aspects of this thing. Also, the owner entitled this kid. He made him privileged, entitled, and handed him the keys to the Corvette, the mansion, the yacht, and the entire franchise. And you gave the keys to the wrong guy, a guy whose family also coddled and spoiled him and set the coaches down after the season and said, we will not run the offense that made the team great this year. We will treat my son like he's Peyton, like he's Aaron, like he's Brett, and he will be a drop back passer. Coming off the most electrifying rookie season ever, but we all ignored the signs. Robert showed us on a consistent basis during his magical rookie year all the red flags you needed to see. When things weren't perfect, when things weren't gimmicky, it looked shaky. Some of the comments in the post game and in the offseason, shaky. But we were so mesmerized and tantalized by his physical abilities, we ignored all the red flags. And the biggest red flag was that the guy was a one-read quarterback. That's what he was in college. That's what he was in the NFL. And that's why Kyle Shanahan concocted an offense to tailor-made to his skill set. You are a one-read, pop-pass, zone-read quarterback. Make that work. But no. Also, Robert could not protect himself worth a damn. I remember Bryce Harper on the Nationals offering to give Robert sliding lessons. Robert's biggest on-field red flag was he lacked even the slightest ability to protect himself. The boy couldn't slide. The boy couldn't get down. He refused to get out of bounds, and all his injuries were his fault. They were his fault. Like, we like to sit here and blame the Shanahans for why that shit didn't work. They get a little piece of the blame pie, but like 85% of the blame pie goes to Robert Griffin III if you're being objective about it. Because most of the problem was him. He was the major factor into why things didn't work out in Washington. And then Shanahan gave himself some insurance. He bought himself a nice insurance policy when he drafted RG3. It's almost like he knew that shit wasn't going to work out. So in that same draft in the 4th round, he took one Kirk Cousins, the most polarizing name I've ever seen come through this franchise at the quarterback position. You either loved him or hated him. There's no in between. There's no gray area for Kirk Cousins. Me, a motherfucker like me, I'm going to keep it a whole buck with you. I cannot turn my nose up at good quarterback play. Did he win us anything? No, but nobody's won us anything. But the closest to winning us something was this guy. Who am I to turn up my nose at a guy who gives me 4,000 yards and 25 plus touchdowns consistently? Because since he left here in Washington, it's been trash can after trash can after trash can, excuse making, and jags. We've literally went to the thrift store, the Goodwill bin of NFL quarterbacks since Kirk left this franchise. And call it what you want. Say what you want about Kirk. Kirk Cousins is a franchise quarterback. consistently can throw for 4,000 yards and 25 plus touchdowns, and has secured over $240 million in guaranteed money in his time in the NFL, despite being drafted in the 4th round, where mid-round quarterbacks rarely pan out in this league. Franchise quarterback. Watch the show Quarterback on Netflix. It's great, by the way. Let's now walk to 2023. I don't even want to talk about the past anymore. Let's talk about the guy we got in the building right now. Sam Howell is not a typical 5th round pick, 144th overall. I was just scrolling through some old tweets and some old posts following the 2021 season. Going into that season, I'm looking at Todd McShay's 2022 NFL draft preseason top prospects. He has Albino Mahomes, Spencer Rattler at number 1. And number 2, his number 2 prospect in all of college football, and the projected top 5 overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft, Samuel Howell. I'm looking at a post that says super sophomore, most passing touchdowns through your sophomore season in ACC history. Trevor Lawrence, 66. Jameis Winston, 65. Number 1, Sam Howell, 67 touchdowns. The owner of all the UNC passing records and the number 2 most efficient quarterback in ACC history behind Trevor Lawrence. Wasn't Jameis. Wasn't Lamar. It was Sam Howell. This is not your normal 5th round pick. This guy lost De'Ami Brown, Daz Newsome, Javonte Williams, and Michael Carter, and his starting center and 2 other linemen. He lost everything and came back to school and had a year where he threw for 24 touchdowns, but he ended up running for 811 touchdowns. So he still ended up with 35 total touchdowns in his down year in college, but he doesn't check the genetics lottery box that guys like Will Levis and Anthony Richardson are able to check, being 6'4", 230 plus. But body of work in a pro-style system and tools and intangibles wise, Sam Howell checks all the boxes we're looking for to be a franchise quarterback here in Washington. Will he be one? I can't say which way, but data and numbers will say as a 5th round pick, he's not going to be a franchise quarterback. But everything that I've seen of the guy mentally and physically, he checks all the boxes I need. He's a fast processor. He moves his feet around well. Like EB and them said, he auto-corrects. He realizes when he's not doing something right. And no, I'm not basing any of this analysis off of 19 passing attempts versus the Dallas Cowboys in Week 18. It's a travesty that we didn't see more of Sam Howell in 2022. But he's got the keys to the show now. He's got the keys to the franchise now to prove, can he be a franchise guy in this league? Let me tell Washington fans something that they don't want to hear, but is the absolute truth. We have a very good roster. We have a much more than above average roster. We don't have a 3-win, 4-win, 5-win roster. At minimum, we're going to be around our normal number of 7 to 8 wins. But with better quarterback play, this is easily a 10-win team. Fuck the schedule. The schedule is the schedule. The roster is a NFL playoff roster, given what the quarterback play consists of. We had 2 trash cans stink it up at quarterback for us last year, and we still should have made the playoff. I harp on these things often. The 2 Giants games, inexcusable. The Titans game, we threw a pick on the 1-yard line, inexcusable. Taylor Heineke threw away a 10-point lead and threw the fucking game away versus the Vikings, a 1-loss team at the time. Those 4 games changed the trajectory of how we were viewed in 2022, and it is why we're still viewed as a joke in 2023. And we have to prove and earn everything we get in this league, because the stigma and the stench that Dan Snyder's left on this franchise over his 24-year reign of terror is going to last on us until they see what new ownership's going to do once they get in the building. But now that we got Dan out our system, Dan can't ruin this. We got owners who know what they're doing. We've improved the offensive line. The boy got weapons for days. Fuck them rankings where you see Washington has the 21st ranked receiving corps. We got 2 number 1s in Terry and Jahan. We got a worthy number 2, a very worthy and versatile dynamic piece in Curtis Samuel. We don't know what Dyami Brown is as an NFL pro, but the best we've ever seen in his life, Dyami was playing with that guy you're looking at right now, Sam Howell, in college. Sam Howell is the reason Dyami Brown was taken with the third round pick in the NFL draft, despite the fact that he had a limited route tree in college. The guy you're looking at, Sam Howell, has the arm, has much more than above average mobility. He's going to be one of the better running quarterbacks in the league. This guy, if you take away the sacks his last year at UNC, he ran for 1,100 yards. But when you take away penalties, sacks, and all that shit, he had 830 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. 800 yards and 11 touchdowns for a white passing prototypical quarterback. That is a more than capable mobile guy. And we can almost run the offense in a way, dare I say, like how the Eagles do with Jalen Hurts, but our guy's a more natural passer. He's a natural passer of the football. And don't listen to what my guy, friend of the show, Matt Miller, said. The guy has more than enough arm. The guy has a rocket, former baseball player. Sam has all the characteristics and intangibles, minus the fact that he's not prototypical size, but he's more than enough. He has a very sturdy frame. He's not chubby. He's not fat like some people will make you think he is. He has a stocky, he has that prototypical Baker Mayfield type build. 6'1", stocky. He doesn't care about anything but football. The guy wakes up and looks like he gets out of bed and comes to practice every day. I need to see him get his QB1 cut fixed for the season, but I don't care about all the extra stuff. I don't care about the swag. I don't care about the offseason workout video. I don't care about anything but what he does on the football field. He puts the work in. He talks the talk. Players love him. Players will rally around him. And unlike the last guy players will rally around, this guy has a hose attached to him, not a water gun. We're not going to sit here and make up reasons to like this guy because the guy actually checks a lot of boxes from a physical standpoint. He's just not 6'4". He's 6'1", 225, all muscle and all about football. Is Sam Howell a franchise quarterback? Cues the Kodak Black GIF. I hope so. I hope so. And we're praying he is. And this is how I want 2023 to play out. I need him to ball out or I need him to flame out and be awful. But I don't see awful coming from Sam Howell. This is a guy who started 3 years at North Carolina. This is a guy that scored over 100 touchdowns at North Carolina in a prototypical pro-style offense and was the second most efficient quarterback in ACC history behind Trevor Lawrence, Sunshine Lawrence out of Jacksonville. He has all the makings to be it, but you know in Washington, life going life, and QBs are going to go to the purgatory at some point, so things could always go awry here. Things could always go wrong, but with Dan Snyder out of the picture and with the addition of Eric Bieniemy, not Norv's son, Eric Bieniemy, a two-time Super Bowl champion coming from that Andy Reid style, I'm excited to see what he can be. I think Sam Howell has the chance to be our franchise quarterback, and I hope he's either that or he's garbage. I don't want any mediocre nonsense, but I think at his core and at his floor, he's no worse than a Case Keenum. But what we really need to find out is how big his ceiling is. I think Sam Howell has the chance to be our franchise guy, and with how the cards are lining up for this franchise, getting Dan Snyder out of the building, it's a new day. It's a new day in Washington. We're allowed to have nice things again, guys. We have not been allowed to have nice things for quite some time. I believe we have a chance to finally solve that position. I think Sam could be the guy to answer all ailments of the last 24 to 30 years of franchise failure. Sam, please be it. That's all I got for right now. Hail to the Washington Commanders. Cross your fingers. Sam Airwolf Howell. Imagine if we were the Red Wolf. Now, we're not going into the name conversation. Howell, beat him, please. Deuces.